All right, Broncos country. We got the final injury report from the Broncos released just about 20 minutes ago. We got some really good news, which is awesome. So basically everything that we talked about and all the videos I made yesterday, you can ignore a lot of the stuff on there. But hey, it was fun and worrisome while it lasted, but thankfully we can exhale a little bit Broncos country. So let's take a look at that, guys. Like and subscribe if you're not already. Share these videos with a friend, man. Maybe they like the Broncos. It really helps me out. Spread the word and let's grow this thing. So getting into the injury report, what we talked about yesterday, man, was there was two concerns. One concern was Zach Allen, all of a sudden being a DNP on Thursday with a calf injury. Now, the fact that he was a straight DNP kind of was decent news, oddly enough, because it showed that maybe he didn't actually injure it in practice and he was just getting a rest day. That's exactly what the case was, thankfully. He was a full today, doesn't even have an injury designation. Another great bit of news, and we expected this, but Jonah Ellis being back is awesome. Is really, really good, man. And I would really like to see him strong and healthy for the long stretch of the season. He's battled some things this year, but he's such a good player, such a key component to what it is that we do. And although I've loved to see Q Robinson, play more, Jonah Ellis is different, man. He brings a fiery edge to this team. So I love what he does. And the other big concern was Pat Bryant, because as you guys noticed, he was a full participant on Wednesday, then popped up limited with a hamstring. I was very worried that he was limited because he had injured himself in practice. That doesn't seem to be the case. I would assume it was just like hamstring tightness. They were just being cautious with him. He was limited Thursday. He was limited again today. He doesn't have a game designation. So is it going to limit him during the game? I don't think so, but we will definitely know if they do any kind of elevations tomorrow at the wide receiver position, then maybe it could. Otherwise, I think he's good to go. A little bit of a surprise. Well, not necessarily, but I was a little bit upset that Nate Atkins is still out. And he was a DNP all week, which really could signal that it could be even longer. They didn't end up putting him on IR. They obviously could have gotten an extra roster spot had they done that. But I just felt like maybe they didn't really feel the need for whatever reason. They probably thought it was going to be a 3 to 4 week injury and there wasn't anybody that they necessarily cared to move up. But that does mean we're going to most likely run with two tight ends again tomorrow. So something to keep an eye on, man. I think Nate Atkins will eventually get healthy, but man, you gotta figure at some point they're gonna have to make a move from the practice squad to the active roster for another tight end. Because even with Nate Atkins and just going with three, you're really playing with fire there. So that's a big one. And then DJ Jones is not going to play this week. So it looks like he's just out with an ankle. He's been stretching. Doesn't seem like it's a very overly concerning ankle injury, but it'd be good to give him the week off. Sean Payton talked a lot today in the presser after practice. He talked about just how satisfied and how happy they've been with the development of Iyomo Uwazurike. I'm right there. I think he's been awesome. But again, great opportunity, man, for maybe Savion Jones to get activated, get some reps. But we're deep there. I think Malcolm Roach will be able to slide right in, and hopefully we'll be good to go to be able to bottle up Ashton Genty. And it's crazy with the Raiders, man, because Ashton Genty, obviously, highly touted pick. I was honestly kind of happy when they took him. I thought it was a terrible pick. I said the entire draft season. I thought he was just not the right pick. I've never been a proponent of taking a running back in the first round anyways, especially if you're not a very good team. And I was hesitant about the Broncos drafting one in the first round this year because I just didn't know we were going to be as good as we are. But, you can look back and say we should have taken a running back, but you can also look back and say, hey, we found J.K. Dobbins, and although he's injured now, Omarion Hampton got injured, right? Running back positions, they get injured. There's just too much risk to take him early. But he's still a very talented player, that being said. And so we can't just because the Raiders are the last in the league currently at running the football, it doesn't mean that we can relax and forget about it. There's two guys that you have to worry about on the Raiders offense, period, that you cannot let beat you. Ashton Genty and Brock Bowers. That's it. Let everybody else beat you. If they're going to beat you that way, then they deserve it, I guess. But you cannot let those two guys beat you. So overall, guys, really good news. I'm not going to lie. Like I was kind of hoping to see if we would elevate A.T. Perry and maybe get A.T. Perry on there, but my love that I have for Pat Bryant. I hope that he plays as much as he has been. I really hope they start featuring him even more in this offense. And most importantly, I hope he comes out of this game healthy. Hamstring injuries are very ticky-tack. They always get me worried, but that's going to be the most important thing to pay attention to. So we'll see if there's any moves. I'm really at the point now where I feel like, man, I think Reese Taylor's been really good on special teams. But there's a couple guys on this offense that you could release, revert back to the practice squad, and elevate later if you need to. But I'd like to see a tight end put back on this roster. And it's like, why are you keeping Mercedes Lewis around if you're not going to use him at all? At least he's got a skill set. But again, we'll see. We'll see. It worked out. It worked out fine last week, I think, at least from an offensive standpoint. So we'll go from there. But let's talk about this game. Incredibly important game. I think it hasn't been being talked about enough in terms of just how important this game is. I mean, I feel like when you're at the position that the Broncos are in right now, every game is extremely important. But the fact that this one particularly can get you the tiebreaker win over you can clinch the tiebreaker win over the Patriots is massive. It might not necessarily mean much should we win the game tomorrow, like in the grand scheme of things. But, come late December, early January, it might definitely be one of those games where us and the Patriots both have the same record, best record in the AFC West, in the AFC. This game is going to be the deciding factor if we get the number 1 seed in home field throughout with the first round bye. So, yeah, it's massively important. And, a lot of people are saying that I was listening to the radio earlier, and they were talking about how the fact that the last matchup that they had on Thursday night was so close kind of makes them a little bit more leery about this game. And I get that. I mean, it's divisional games. It's rarely that division games are just blowouts. But the fact that the game unfolded the way that it did, and as awful as it was of a performance, by far the worst performance from this team, specifically this offense the entire year, I think it was a good thing because it's going to give a really good motivating factor to this team of saying, hey, we almost let them have us last time. That was embarrassing. Let's go out there and whoop them up. And so I think that they're going to come out fired up and ready to go in Vegas. So I'm feeling really good about this game, guys. I mean, there's no reason a 10-2 team like us should lose to an opponent like the Raiders, kind of where they're at. You can tell they've kind of given up on the season. I mean, I know it's easy to say that, and these guys are still professionals, and they're still going to come out and have good effort, especially Max Crosby. But it's tough, man, when just so many things have gone wrong, and they're in a clear rebuild. And I think to Pete Carroll's credit, like, he's a very experienced coach. He's one of the best coaches that's ever been in this league. One of the best coaches in football in general with success in college. And then, Tom Brady, a part of the ownership group, they have they have a lot of guys that are intelligent, that are in charge. And when you have guys that are intelligent in charge, they realize winning games at this point of the season is really it's pointless. In fact, it could hurt teams a lot more. You want to put yourself in a position where you can maximize your draft pick and focus on having a really good offseason. You see what it does to a team like the Patriots. You saw what it does to a team like the Broncos last year. There's examples of it every single year. So that's going to be the big thing for the Raiders. I hope they have a terrible offseason. I hope they have a terrible draft, obviously. I don't like the Raiders, but that is the smart thing to do. But nonetheless, I just think we're a significantly better team. And I think we should go in there and make it a mission to get a big-time division win. That's also going to have significant implications when it comes to the number 1 seed, which is the first short-term goal. Well, the second short-term goal, aside from winning the division, which obviously if you get the number 1 seed, that means you win the division. So that's kind of my overall, the overview of the game. I would say some of the big pieces of this game, or some things that I really want to see. Man, I really want to see this run game going. I want to see a good average. I'd like to see this team finish, at least the running backs, finish above 4 yards a carry. There's been a lot of back and forth with RJ Harvey, rightfully so. Right? You've seen some good, you've seen some bad, but you look at his stats for the entire year. All right, and it's pretty crazy because right now he sits at 74 carries, 279 yards with a 3.8 average and 4 rushing touchdowns. I think he's got 2 more passing touchdowns. He's got a lot of touchdowns. His average is 3.8, which is not good. It's obviously not terrible, but here's where it becomes terrible. 2 of his runs equaled 90 yards. of that total. He had a 50-yard run and a 40-yard run. When you take those out, he essentially has 72 carries for 199 yards, roughly. That's not good. That's a very, very bad average. So that's where you want to see. But in general, I want to see this run game really get going. I want to see us maybe even if we have to get a little bit creative with it, you can. But I want to see major improvement there. And I'd like to see some explosives from Bo Nix in this offense, right? You talk about, style points really don't mean anything to me. They're fun, and I'm never going to complain when you blow a team out or you look really good in a win. I mean, a win is a win. You never look back and regret not looking a certain way. But there are some things that I feel like the fan base and maybe even the players on this team want to prove that they're capable of doing because they haven't done it consistently. So the deep shots down the field, I'd like to see some of those. I like to see this run game going and turnovers, man. This is a game where we should be able to get after Geno Smith. The Cleveland Browns sacked him 10 times. There's no reason why we shouldn't be able to get after him and sack him at least that much or close to it. And win some turnovers, man. Win some turnover battles. Really dominate this game. Really have a good, complete overall performance. And continue featuring Evan Ingram, man. Evan Ingram, it's pretty interesting. In weeks 1 through 9, he was getting about 11% of the target share amongst all the receivers and tight ends on the team, which is fairly low. I mean, it's not that low, but it's actually higher than I thought it was. But he was getting about 11%. That's jumped up in the last 3 weeks from weeks 10 to last week, week 13, jumped up to 17.8%. Now, part of that could be, yes, there's been some injuries at the tight end position, but I would like for that to be something that we continue doing. Man, you're going to have teams worry about someone like Evan Ingram beating you, allocating resources to him. I think it's massive. So that's going to be big. Again, love to see the plan that we had for Brock Bowers. A lot of people are saying just put PS2 on Brock Bowers. I think in the grand scheme of things, it makes sense. But we played them last time without PS2. And we mixed up a mix of Brandon Jones, Hufanga, but a lot of Jahdae Barron. And it worked out wonderfully. So you could make the argument that you could go with that exact same plan. So we'll see. Let me check something real quick before I sign off. I want to see if the Raiders' final injury report has been released because there was some, like Michael Mayer was someone that hasn't been practicing. I thought was really important in terms of like what they do. It's pretty significant. Yeah, here it is. It did come out. Oh, I have to go on the Raiders website. I always feel like I'm cheating on the Broncos when I have to go on the Raiders website for this. But Alex Bachman, who's a wide receiver, don't know much about him. He's out for the game. Max Crosby, another DNP. That's actually surprising because even a lot of Raiders forums were saying he's been taking these rest days. They expected him to be able to practice at least limited on Friday. But a DNP with a knee, he has a questionable tag. So we'll see. Michael Mayer is out for the game, and Dante Thornton Jr. with a concussion is out. Otherwise, a couple other guys are questionable. So not really anyone of significant note. But, man, I'll tell you, if Max Crosby doesn't play, Lord, that's half their defense, in my opinion. And Michael Mayer being out is helpful for the Broncos, too, because I always felt like he's a really talented tight end that you can account for. And we've been better against tight ends, but as you saw last week, tight ends could also whoop you up. With what Zach Ertz did to us. I mean, if Zach Ertz had 10 catches, over 100 yards on us, what the hell is Brock Bowers fixing to do? So I think we need to have a really good plan for them, and we should be able to cruise to a win, no doubt about it, in a very big win. But excited to see how this team rebounds after the overtime performance on Sunday, and as we really get into a very, very important and difficult stretch of the season. All right, y'all. I appreciate you, man. Have a wonderful Friday evening, and we'll catch you on the flip side. Go Broncos, baby. Peace.